Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, May 4th, 2026. At least it is for about 25 more minutes. I'm Robert Preston Jr. live on Douglas Now. Welcome, everyone, to our meeting here tonight. A couple of things I want to talk about. Don't want to spend a lot of time here. It's late, but I do want to get to a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to kind of go in reverse a little bit because of the two topics that we're going to talk about, I think the one that would probably have more interest, more widespread interest, is something that came out of our county commission meeting this morning. And the commissioners talked a little bit about data centers and crypto mines and things like that and what that may or may not mean for Coffee County. So I'm going to finish with that. What I want to do first is go over a quick sports update, which is primarily at this stage baseball and softball. I'm going to start with the Coffee Trojans Friday night with the threat of bad weather. I wasn't sure we were going to get that game in or those games in because the forecast basically said 100% chance of rain late Friday afternoon into Friday evening. They had to move the game from Charles Wilson Field at Coffee High School to South Georgia State College's field, George Cook Stadium, Crowder Field. For that game, there was some standing water on Charles Wilson Field that prevented them from being able to play. So the Trojans welcome the South Paulding Spartans to Coffee County on Friday, and that's a pretty big deal. It was the first time in 3 years that we have had a home playoff, baseball playoff series here in our community. We did not win that series. We lost that series. So, and I haven't gone back and looked to see how long it's been since we won a home baseball series. But it's been a few years. So this was a pretty big deal. And also, of course, I've mentioned that my Mendoza line, not really the right way to put it, but because that Mendoza line signifies something, sets the bar pretty low, and I don't mean that, but one of the milestones that you want to hit for a successful baseball season in high school is to win 20 games. So the Coffee Trojans have done that. They were also able to get a home playoff series and win that as well. So this week we're on the road again. We'll talk about that in just a second. So what happened on Friday night? The way they do this in the baseball playoffs, it's the best 2 out of 3 series. So what they want to do is play a double header on day one, because you have an opportunity to go ahead and get the series over with if a team can win 2 games. If they split, you come back on Saturday. They do this on Friday night. You come back on Saturday and you play a third game. All right. Fortunately, we have been able to win 4 straight playoff games. We've swept the doubleheader in the first 2 rounds. So we ended on Friday, and we were able to do so in both weekends without going deep into our pitching staff, because that's what you've got to have. When you get into these playoff series, you've got to have pitching, and we've got to have pitching anyway to be successful in baseball. But you want to be able to get through each round without going deep into your pitching staff. You do have 6 days to recover, but each inning that a pitcher throws takes a little bit more out of him for the next outing. So you want to make sure that you can get through with as little damage as possible. And we did that. All right. We did not have to dig very deep to win these 4 ball games. In fact, Gavin McElroy won 3 of them himself. So he's won 75% of our playoff games this year. He won 2 last weekend, and then he turned around and won game 1 on Friday night. Now, speaking of game 1, the Trojans did all of their scoring in 2 innings. They scored in the 3rd and the 4th. They won 7-2. South Paulding managed to score just 1 run in the 2nd and then another in the 6th. And all of the Trojans' runs came with 2 outs. And you've heard me say this before: 2 out hits will get you to baseball heaven. And that's what happened on Friday night. What the Trojans did in the 3rd inning was loaded the bases with 3 straight walks. So you got the bases loaded with nobody out. Then 2 consecutive strikeouts got us to 2 outs and made things look a little bit more tenuous. We weren't quite sure we were going to be able to score any at that point. But McElroy, again, he was pitching. He helped his own cause with a single to center on the first pitch that he saw. That drove in Eli Wood and Reed Harden. Taven Harden followed with a triple that scored Ben Fussell and Morgan Lewis. So Coffee headed into the 4th inning with a 4-1 lead. In the 4th, the Trojans again scored with 2 outs, but they chose a little different path. The first 2 Coffee hitters struck out, so we've got 2 quick outs. Then Reed Harden and Fussell followed with singles. Jimmy Timothy doubled, bringing in Reed and Fussell. And then Barrett Harrell singled, scoring Timothy and giving the Trojans a 7-1 lead. The Spartans added another run in the 6th after we made an error, but it wasn't enough to get them back into the game. The Trojans went on and won 7-2. McElroy had a pretty good line. He gave up 5 hits in 7 innings, surrendering 2 runs, one of which was earned while striking out 2, and he did not give up a walk. Pretty solid outing. Another complete game for Gavin. Now, game 2, a little bit different. We were never behind. We did trail a little bit in game 1. We were never behind in game 2, but game 2 didn't feel as we weren't as comfortable. Let me back up. I was not as comfortable watching game 2 as I was paying attention to game 1. It felt like we had game 1 in the bag pretty early. Game 2, not so much. In the top of the 2nd, Will Walker led off with a walk, and then Wood drove him in with a single to right. He had moved all the way around the 3rd thanks to 2 wild pitches. And I'm going to tell you, when you're playing at South Georgia State College's baseball field, wild pitches and pass balls will kill you. There's a lot of real estate behind home plate, and that's a brick facade back there. All right, that backstop is all brick, and that ball bounces in different directions. It can come right back to you, or it can hit and go right, go left, and that ball moves in a hurry. So if a ball gets past the catcher, you can do some damage out there at Crowder Field, and that's exactly what happened. There were 2 wild pitches. He got Walker all the way around the 3rd. He was able to score on Wood's single. A few batters later, Fussell scored Wood on a single of his own, and the Trojans had a 2-0 lead. In the top of the 5th, Harrell led off with a triple. Then McElroy stepped up big and singled, scoring Harrell to put the Trojans up 3-1. In the top of the 6th, Fussell led things off with a double. He moved to 3rd on a bunt, and then he scored on a single by Harrell to give Coffee a 4-2 advantage. Now, the Spartans made things interesting in the 7th inning. Damian Jones hit a 2-out double to left. He scored Mason Lucci, I think I'm saying that name correctly, and getting South Paulding to within 1 run. However, the Spartans' season ended on a ground ball to Wood, and this is Wood here. The ground ball hit back up to him. He fielded the ball and flipped it over to Carter McMillan at first base to win the game and move Coffee to the Elite 8. Fussell was 3 for 3 with a double, a run, and 2 walks, one of which was intentional. 2 of his hits were also doubles. Harrell was 2 for 3 with a run and an RBI. Wood and Reed Harden both had 2 hits as well. Reed had a double while Harrell tripled. We used 3 pitchers in that last game. Evan Lingenfelter started and went 3 innings. He gave up 1 run on 3 hits. He struck out 1 and walked 2. Will Walker went 2 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 run, walked 1, and struck out 2. And then Wood finished here, again, Eli, finished the final 2 innings. He gave up 3 hits, 1 run, and he struck out 2. So what's next? We got to travel, but it's not a bad road trip. And it's a road trip that has a little bit of local interest. We're headed over to Brunswick on Friday, where we will face the Pirates. Now, the Pirates have a pretty good team over there. They beat Milton Friday night 15-5 in game 1 and then 15-2 in game 2. So they scored 30 runs over 2 games. Brunswick's head coach is also Greg Roberts, a Douglas native, Coffee High graduate, played baseball at South Georgia State College and went on and played at East Carolina. He also coached here in Coffee County. He won CCA's first ever state baseball championship back in 2010. So we are facing a very strong and well-coached Brunswick team. And of course, part of that is because of Greg Roberts, who was a phenomenal baseball coach. So it's going to be a tough series on Friday. Again, we'll play 2 games on Friday night. If we sweep or get swept, then we will handle things accordingly. If we sweep, we will play the following weekend, probably on the road again. If we get swept, of course, our season will end. If we split, we will stay over and play on Saturday afternoon. So what we want to do is come in and win both of those games. And if you're not going to win both of them, you really need to win the first one, all right? Because you're in the driver's seat, you're in control, you have a little bit more control over your own destiny if you win that first game. So we were able to get out of this series without a whole lot of trouble. And let's head into Brunswick. They've won more games than we have. But the teams match up pretty well against each other. There's not as big a gap between us and Brunswick as the records would indicate, but still, they're going to be the toughest challenge that we faced in the playoffs yet. Greg has done a heck of a job over there. He's a good coach and a great baseball mind, and he gets a lot out of his players. So, and certainly they're going to want to win. For a variety of reasons as well. It'll be kind of interesting to go over there and play him. So that's what happens with high school baseball later on this week. Now, South Georgia State College begins their run through the GCAA. That's the Georgia Collegiate Athletic Association tournament. Starts tomorrow. Actually, it started today, but South Georgia doesn't play until tomorrow. They will face Andrew College, the Andrew College Tigers from Cuthbert, Georgia. They're playing over at ABAC in Tifton. So South Georgia and Andrew will play each other tomorrow, and then we will see where it goes from there. I do believe this is a single elimination tournament. You can be out in a hurry, or you can continue playing and play for a while. SGSC softball also plays this week. I believe they play on Thursday up in Cartersville at Georgia Highlands. So they have qualified for the postseason as well. CCA baseball also played today. They beat Deerfield Windsor 13-3. If you were paying attention to the schedule, CCA and Deerfield were supposed to play on Friday, but they decided to postpone the game until today because of the weather. It ended up they probably would have been able to get that game in, but you got to make a call at a certain time, and they went ahead and can move that game without there being a whole lot of disruptions with regard to what both teams will be doing in the postseason. CCA won 13-3 today in 6 innings. Luke Russ had 2 doubles. Thomas Gentry also doubled. Gentry started. He threw a complete game, 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, 3 runs. All 3 were earned. Walked 1, struck out 10. He did so with 80 pitches. So, again, a pretty good outing for the CCA Patriots. They are now 24-2 on the season. We're going to play a little bit more this week. Deerfield Windsor was supposed to be the final game of the season, but I believe what we're going to be able to do is we're going to catch some teams that also have first-round byes, and we'll be able to play a little bit. It's going to count on the record, but they're not going to count toward our playoff seeding or the other team's playoff seeding. That's already been set. And you might be asking, well, these aren't region games, so why would it matter? As we've talked about, the GIAA uses a power rankings system to determine playoff seeding and that kind of thing. So whether you win or lose any game, region or non-region game, it will affect your ranking, of course, and it will also affect your seeding in the playoffs. But the seedings are already set. So whatever happens now is not going to matter with regard to playoff placing. So you're playing with a little bit of house money if you get together and play a couple of games here. And I think what Coach Coral wants to do, he wants to keep the players sharp. He doesn't want to have a lot of time off because he'll be off the rest of this week. And then we get a first round bye, so it'll be a while before we play. So we'll probably end up with a couple of more games before the end of the week, and we will let you know about those. So that's what's happening in the world of sports. I hope that the Trojans play for quite a while. If South Georgia State baseball can win the tournament, then they'll move on and play the district tournament up in Tennessee. And then the winner of that tournament will go to the Junior College World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado. And I would like to see us do that. We went to Grand Junction in 2011. I was able to accompany the then South Georgia College Tigers out there, and it was a lot of fun. It's a very well done event. And I tell you what, the Grand Junction community, everybody gets together and everybody shows out for that Junior College World Series. It's a lot of fun, and there's some really good baseball played out there as well. So let's take a break. We will come back and talk about data centers and crypto mines. We'll see you in just a second. When someone is injured in an accident, they need three things: answers, a plan, and a legal team they can trust. That's what you get at the law office of Bruce Edwards in Douglas, along with a healthy dose of old school toughness and modern strategy to boot. We are here to help. Give us a call and let us work for you. Welcome back. Robert Preston Jr. here on Douglas Now Live. This is a picture from our county commission meeting this morning before we get to data centers and what have you. Lisa Gillis, clerk of court, was chosen as the first district clerk of the year. County commission honored her this morning. Lisa is, of course, right here next to County Attorney Tony Rowell, County Commission Chairman A.J. Dovers. Now, one way that you know Lisa is doing a good job is you don't hear about Lisa's job. If you don't hear about anything up at the courthouse, then you know that things are going well. Lisa, I think, was appointed clerk of court in 2019, and she's been there ever since. And of course, she's had to run for re-election every so often since then, and has run unopposed. And I think that says a lot for the confidence that the people of our community have in her and the job that she does. But she has done a phenomenal job. And if you are familiar with some of the things that were going on in that office when she was appointed, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. And she did not have a lot of time in which to do it. And she performed her tasks extremely well and continues to do so. They also got a couple of trials going on this week. They were having jury selection today, so she had to break away from the courthouse and run over to the county commission meeting room in the courthouse annex here to have her picture taken and be recognized. So again, congratulations, Lisa, on being chosen as First District Clerk of the Year, and thank you for the work that you do for our community. Now, what else happened at the county commission meeting? There was a lot. We're going to get a report together. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over all. I mean, this is the agenda here, 3-page agenda. Not going to go over all of that, but I would like to talk about something on the second page, agenda item number 12. The commission approved a resolution for a moratorium of high-intensity energy demand facilities within Coffee County. What does that mean? A 1-year moratorium on data centers, crypto mines, blockchain stuff, those kinds of industries. Now, I don't think we really have a whole lot planned with regard to high intensity energy demand facilities. Now, we did have the crypto mine out at Wilsonville. That stuff is gone. That infrastructure is no longer there. There are a couple of light poles left out there, but most of those boxes, again, my term, don't know what else to describe them as, are gone. And we don't have any current plans or any current proposals, I should say, that I know of to bring a similar project here to Coffee County. But crypto mines and data centers are very controversial. And I just want to throw a few things out there. What this moratorium does is it gives the county time to figure out what they're going to do if, in fact, someone or some organization or entity comes to Coffee County and wants to put up a data center, another crypto mine, something like that. Now, what's kind of interesting to me is that nobody wants a crypto mine. Nobody wants a data center, anything like that. And I must confess that I don't know a whole lot about the data centers, but I have been catching up, and I understand a few of the issues there. Of course, people are concerned about noise. They're concerned about pollution, other environmental damage. They're concerned about the use of water, because in order to cool those servers that they use for the data centers, they have to use water. Some of these data centers are enormous acres and acres, hundreds of acres to build these data centers. And they use a lot of water. If they don't cool them with water, then they're going to cool them with air, and that makes noise. And there are a lot of issues surrounding, of course, noise pollution. So, but here's the dilemma. And this is the part of the equation that nobody really wants to talk about. The reason we have data centers is because we are dependent upon technology. We are dependent, growing even more dependent upon AI. We're all dependent on these, on our phones, right? All the electronics, all the technology that we use in our day-to-day lives and in our businesses. I mean, again, we're sitting here on social media right now. I've got two computers in front of me. I've got one to my right. And of course, I'm looking at my phone as well. All of this stuff requires bandwidth. It requires connectivity. It requires what data centers provide. So what I look at and what I'm trying to balance out here is, how do you reconcile the nuisance, and that's putting it nicely, that data centers are, with the fact that nobody's fixing to put our phones down. We're not about to stop getting on social media. We're not about to stop driving electric cars. We're not about to stop using smartwatches and cell phones and all the other things that require the infrastructure that data centers support. So what are we going to do? And I realize that in certain parts of the world where we have these rare earth minerals, that the environment is being compromised by mining for these minerals. And there's also a bit of an arms race among the developed nations. And of course, when they're doing that, you have developed nations using the labor and the resources of undeveloped nations to increase their profit margin, to increase their influence, to increase their power at the expense of those underdeveloped countries and those underdeveloped cultures. So how do we reconcile that with the fact that none of us are fixing to put our phones down? We are creating the demand that data centers satisfy. I don't know what we can do here in Coffee County. I don't know what the outcome of this will be. Of course, it will be to try in some shape, form, or fashion. In general, it will be to try to mitigate, I would say, the nuisance or damage or what have you, whatever words you want to use there, that data centers and crypto mines and that kind of thing might do to our community. But at the same time, there's an incentive on some level to have those facilities here, all right, because they do generate money. And of course, they answer a need that we all have. So I guess when I look at this, what I'm thinking about is, it's kind of like the chicken houses. All right. I was talking about the chicken houses to some folks today. It's kind of like chicken houses. Nobody wanted 60 chicken houses south of town. All right. That was not a good idea in the minds of most of our community members. But everybody likes chicken sandwich. You know, everybody likes to sit down at Sunday lunch and eat a chicken leg or a chicken breast. All right. You like to go somewhere for all you can eat chicken wings. All right. We want the chickens, but we don't want the chicken farms. We want the connectivity. We want the internet. We want the access to the World Wide Web and to artificial intelligence and to all of the positives and all of the advantages and all of the whatevers that connectivity provides. Our world depends on it. What I do here at Douglas now depends on it, but we don't want the data centers in our community. We don't want the environmental impact. So what do? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. That's above my pay grade. But there are competing interests here. And one is the fact that nobody wants data centers. And the other fact is that everybody wants connectivity. So you can't have one without the other. So what are we going to do? Is there a way to mitigate the damage and a way to mitigate the aggravation that data centers provide? Can we make them less intrusive into our communities? Do you take them out in the woods and put them in a swamp somewhere? Obviously, you don't want to drain the wetlands for that, but you know what I mean. So I don't know. I don't know. But the county commission put a moratorium on such construction and such projects for a year while they studied and tried to figure out what to do. So if, in fact, we are approached again by a blockchain mine or a crypto mine, we'll know how to handle it. And then, heaven forbid, somebody wants to put up a data center here. How would we handle that? And I think our county's pretty good at working through these zoning issues and then working through these types of dilemmas to figure out. And I think they did a pretty good job with the solar panel ordinance. All right. They were pretty proactive, I think, in putting a solar panel ordinance into place. So what's going to happen moving forward? Who knows? But one thing that we need to ask ourselves, if we don't want the data centers, are we willing to give up the technology that the data centers rely on? We're creating the demand that those types of facilities are filling. So that's just something to think about. I'm not here to offer a solution. I'm not here to say one thing one way or the other. It's just something to think about. They're there because we create the demand. So we're going to take a look at our tower cam, which we do just because it's there and we know we're not going to see anything but darkness tonight. Let's take a break. We'll come back and take another look at the street lights a little bit east of us. A car accident can have serious consequences far beyond the initial crash. Your life and the lives of your loved ones can be turned upside down. Missed work, lost wages, totaled vehicles, and insurance companies that don't want to help. You need a law firm that will fight for you. You've come to the right place. Let's take a look at our tower cam. It's dark. Who knew? You know, I've been talking about the weather for a while, and I was looking forward to warm weather, and we normally don't have a lot of cool weather after Easter, and yet here we are. Here we are. I know most of you are not very sympathetic toward the animals that we have, but I'm back now to having to turn heaters on at night. It is May almost, well, we're past midnight now. It is May the 5th. I should not be running heaters anymore, but I have to, and I'm going to have to for about another week. And that's aggravating and annoying, and I'm tired of it. I don't really want the sun to be right here, okay? Because that's what's going to happen here in a few weeks. The sun's going to be right here, like sitting on our shoulder, okay? I don't really want that, but it's time to get some warm weather. Time to get away from the cold. I tell you what I did yesterday. I exercised most of the afternoon yesterday, and I didn't get started till about 1 o'clock. I was outside the whole day, and I barely broke a sweat. It was May the 3rd in South Georgia with the sun out, very few clouds in the sky. It's a beautiful day. I should have been on the verge of heat stroke, but I was quite comfortable. It needs to get warm, and it needs to stay warm for a while. I'm tired of running the heaters. My power bill is too much. One last thing I want to say about the county commission meeting. A lot of people are concerned about their trash pickup. I know about the issues with trash. We have had a few problems at our house, not as many as other people have had. County commissioners are tired of talking about trash. City commissioners, the mayor, the city manager, the county administrator, everybody's tired of talking about trash. There's nothing anybody can do. All right? Not right now, but help is on the way. Relief is coming. I can't say too much about it. Not going to let the cat out of the bag, but there's some things that are in place or moving around to get in place that will bring relief to our trash situation, hopefully sooner rather than later. But know that our leaders, our community folks do hear your cries. Listen, their trash doesn't get picked up either. It's not like they're coming and picking up the county commissioner's trash and then leaving everybody else on those streets alone. Everybody's having problems with it. Everybody. And everybody's tired of meeting about it. And everybody's tired of having discussions about it. They're tired of it. Sick of it. But there are some things in the works that will hopefully provide relief sooner rather than later. So everybody hang in there. We're going to get this problem fixed one way or the other. Thank y'all for watching. We appreciate it. Hope everyone's had a wonderful, wonderful Monday. And I hope that opens the door and paves the way for a great week. Thank you again for watching us. We'll be back next time. Y'all have a good one.